Live broadcasting is ongoing. Perfect. So, good morning and welcome to our first Supercomputing Thursday this year. We're super excited to have you with us today for an awesome presentation called Catching Up with Competition, presented by my colleague Paul Louis. So let me introduce ourselves quickly. My name is Ralph. I'm working at Luxinnovation, taking care of supercomputing and Gaia-X. Today I'm speaking on behalf of the National Competence Center for Supercomputing, which is actually a consortium over here in Luxembourg, composed of Luxinnovation together with LuxProvide and the university. So for those of you who attended last year's session, we have a couple changes. So in addition to the continuation of our webinars, we will also do a couple meetings in person to get more into discussions called Supercomputing Breakfast Meetings. So if you're interested for a specific vertical, let me know, ping me. Then on May 4th, we will have one day a big fair at the Mudam, super location, supercomputing, super event. So bookmark the day, more information to come. And then furthermore, you might have noticed the name changer to supercomputing instead of high performance computing. Well, as you all know, RIDA is also called Twix. HPC is supercomputing, but no apart from that. And last but not least, I'm taking over from my colleague Ramona for some duties of supercomputing, like these webinars. And as for this webinar and the following, we also have a brand new platform, so feel free to use the chat or the questions on the site. So that having said, let's dive into the topic. It's essential to keep up with the latest tech to stay ahead of the game and of course support the local companies, in that is our core business. Now, supercomputing is definitely a game changer. So in this series, we're going to explore the latest trends and developments in supercomputing and how it's changing the game in various industries. So we hope you are as excited as we are and that you'll gain some valuable insights to help you and your organization make better decisions. So let's kick things off with today's presentation and learn how we can catch up with the competition using supercomputing. Paul Louis, floor is yours.
Thank you, Ralph. First, let me introduce myself. I'm Paul Louis from Luxinnovation, part of the Market Intelligence Department. And here's the agenda we're going to be covering today about the supercomputing market, forecast, use cases, and applications. Let me tell you a bit more about the Market Intelligence Department. Basically, our main activity consists on providing knowledge to LXC collaborators and partners about Luxembourg ecosystem of companies, as well as in-depth knowledge about foreign markets and latest innovation trends. On the right side of your screen, you can see that our latest deliverables, latest data mappings, focusing on the latest ecosystem of companies. But let's dive into the topic of the day, HPC market. First, let me give you a short overview about the latest figures regarding the supercomputing market as it was in 2021. According to latest data compiled by Hyperion Research Center, the market reached a total of 34.8 billion USD in 2021, and it's predicted to grow at a compound annual growth rate of roughly 6.3% until 2028. As you might know, this market is segmented in several key segments, including storage, servers, applications, services, middleware, clouds, so on and so forth. So far, the server market has been the leading segment of the supercomputing market in 2021. It was the biggest market share in terms of revenues. As you may know, this market is mostly led by US and Chinese-based technology providers, among which can be cited companies such as Dell Technologies and Hewlett-Packard Technologies. Those two companies are the ones holding the biggest market share, reaching a total of 56%, according to latest figures published by Hyperion Research. Taking a deeper look at supercomputing application systems by verticals, a total of 13 key verticals or application sectors were identified by Hyperion Research. As you might see on the graph here, the top 5 application sectors consist respectively of government labs applications, university and academic research, computer-aided engineering, defense, and biosciences. This was just a little overview of the market as it was at the end of 2021. But let's dive deeper into the market forecast and how it's currently evolving in the coming years. So the first trend that was primarily identified by our respective research and Applied Research Center is that we're moving towards a new kind of deployment model regarding supercomputing. Until now, the on-premise infrastructure deployment was basically the leading segment when it comes to hypercomputing deployment. However, due to the impact of COVID-19, it appears that basically going on with a deeper exploitation of the cloud and a broader deployment of supercomputing-related technology and application directly in the cloud. Now, of our forecast and predictions, it doesn't mean that the on-premise infrastructure deployment is getting smaller. It just means that the cloud is getting a bigger place in the deployment. Supercomputing in the cloud is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 17.6% in the next 5 years. The consequence of such a shift in deployment in the cloud is that another segment in the market is growing rapidly, which is basically the development of supercomputing as a service. Supercomputing as a service is basically the availability of all the supercomputing resources, whether it is storage, calculation, computation capacities, network capacities, in the cloud, independently or regardless of where the servers are actually hosted. This supercomputing as a service market segment is expected to reach a total of 20.62 billion USD by 2029. Taking a deeper look at application dynamics, it has been noticed that there is an increased use of AI in combination with supercomputing. In other words, it's meant that there is an incorporation of AI models within traditional workloads related to supercomputing. Supercomputing-enabled AI is expected to grow by 22.7% annual compound annual growth rates over the next 5 years. Basically, incorporation of AI in supercomputing allow for better processing of data-intensive workloads, better cleansing of data. But unfortunately, I'm not a technical expert, so I won't dive into too much details regarding this issue. Another thing that is important to be noticed in terms of application dynamics is that there is a shift in the way supercomputing infrastructures are actually conceived nowadays. Because as I said, AI and specifically machine learning and deep learning are becoming more and more implemented directly within new construct infrastructures of supercomputing in combination with GPU's accelerated application. And this is a major shift compared to former type of supercomputing infrastructure as it used to be until now. On the other hand, looking deeper on the key application sectors that are going to be growing in the coming years, according to latest research published by Emerging Research, the healthcare sector is currently the one application sector that's going to be topping in terms of revenue in the coming years. It's going to be shortly followed by government and defense application, as well as the manufacturing sector by 2030. That was pretty much about the key application dynamics and forecast in the coming years. Now I would like to dive a bit deeper into the key use cases that could be of relevance to you regarding the application of supercomputing technologies to solve specific challenges and problems. The first use is an application of supercomputing in the healthcare sector. Here's a case of a computer-aided drug design with combination of deep physics, AI, and supercomputing technology. The challenge was first posed by a French SME called Ictos, specialized in drug discovery and drug development in combination with AI. And the major challenge was that they wanted to reduce time and drug discovery costs, because basically the preliminary research steps are really time consuming and cost a lot, millions of money before it can actually be released on markets. So what they did is that they found a partner in the company of Qubits, which was also specialized in drug discovery tools and softwares, and they associated together using supercomputing power to produce an AI-assisted tool chain that would allow to process more easily the bindings of molecules together and reduce the drug discovery time by basically 25%, as well as development cost reduced by approximately 20%. The idea is that Qubits processed the data provided by Ictos, ran different kind of scenarios when it comes to a combination of molecules together, and ran the complex calculations using supercomputing calculation abilities and capacities. It resulted in a platform that was co-produced by both companies, and which was eventually sold by Ictos in order to better enhance drug discovery in the healthcare sector. Second use case I'd like to address today with you is a nice case in the manufacturing sector, more specifically focusing in the simulation of additive manufacturing processes for the production of metal components. The company HPE Thursdays, which is an Italian-based SME, was faced with the challenge that the additive materials that they were producing through additive manufacturing processes were filled with defaults. There were lots of defective parts, lots of failures in the additive manufacturing process, and they wanted to solve, or at least reduce, the failures and defective parts while producing those materials. So basically what they did is that they contacted the Seneca, which is the supercomputer center in Italy, and they benefited from their expertise. They submitted loads of data to this to the supercomputing center, and then using a tool called Exemplar, based in the cloud, they ran simulations to better understand what was going wrong with the additive manufacturing processes and correct the parameters in accordance in order to avoid failures and defective parts. And in definitive, it allowed them to save almost 90,000 euros a year in terms of operational costs using this kind of platform. The third application case I'd like to address with you today is using supercomputer in the environment, or at least to predict certain effects in our daily environment. So this particular case focuses on AI-aided wind blow and gas displacement simulations within cities. An Italian company called Better Cities, a Spanish company, called Better Cities, was specialized in compiling meteorological and wind flows specialized data, but they didn't know how to exploit properly the tons of loads of data they were collecting to run simulations and better anticipate gas dispersion, pollution dispersion, and wind flows across a given urban area. So they contacted the Barcelona Supercomputing Center, and with their help, they managed to construct a platform, a supercomputing-based platform, to run what we called complex fluid dynamics simulation at an affordable cost, in order to better understand how wind flows could affect pollution dispersion in a given area. Now, the way this supercomputing-based platform was constructed is that basically the loads of data that were collected by better cities were then transmitted directly to a supercomputer, which ran calculations and ran simulations to predict different kind of scenarios about wind flows and pollution dispersions at different heights based on the data given. And all this data was then compiled into shortened simulations into a given platform that could then be sold to potential clients. The major benefits using supercomputer in that case is that it allowed for computer cost reductions, in terms of simulation processes, because we know that basically computer fluid dynamic simulations are quite costly. And it also allowed experimental time setup to be reduced by almost 90%. Another interesting issue is that for better cities, it allowed for openings on new markets, because basically better cities proposed this new simulation platform to other cities who might be interested in running similar simulations. The last use case I'd like to address with you today is the use of supercomputing in energy. The use case we're focusing here is basically how to plan proper maintenance plans on power grids, and by taking it into considerations the variation of the grid. Again, I'm not a technical expert, so I won't dive into deep details. But what you need to remember here is that basically a French SME called Artelis was providing data science and mathematical modeling in order to run specific simulations and better plan maintenance over time. The thing is, in order to produce a platform, or at least a tool that could be useful for maintenance planning, they had to run highly complex simulations that would take into consideration the entire European power grid, which was, in essence, very, very difficult to put into place. So they contacted the INRIA areas team in order to perform very complex supercomputing simulations using a cluster of approximately 1,280 cores to produce scenarios that would correspond to any potential outcome when a maintenance using supercomputer in that specific case. Estimated additional sales for the company, for Artelis, were up to 4 billion over the next 5 years. And it was also an opening for new markets as well for them. So this closes our key studies when it comes to key use cases and use of supercomputers in various key sectors. One last thing I'd like to address with you today is the major barriers to supercomputing expansions. Based on a study released by Amazon Web Service and other contenders, and specifically on the supercomputing as a service market, 4 major barriers were identified when it comes to using supercomputers. The first one is more of a technical barrier. As you may or may not know, supercomputing systems needs to be preloaded, pre-powered with data before running specific calculations. They do not work yet on live data. As you might remind, in a few of the use cases I've just addressed, in each case, in each scenario, before having the results, or before producing a dedicated tool that would answer the challenge that was raised by the company, Loads of data had to be collected, data sets had to be compiled, and then supercomputers had to be loaded with this data for the simulations to be run and the results of the simulations to be put into final software. So this is the first restraint. Supercomputers do not work on live data. Another major barrier to supercomputing expansion is the concerns about data security and security of supercomputing systems as they are existing now. I was highlighting earlier the fact that there is more and more use of supercomputing-enabled AI and the production of specifically tailored infrastructure to meet the requirements of the use of AI systems, which means that there is more and more supercomputing systems that are developed on a regular basis. But the more systems are developed, the more vulnerability you might eventually create when it comes to protecting or attacking the systems. Another barrier that was identified specifically by Amazon Web Service is basically the lack of awareness on SMEs' part when it comes to the potential benefits of using supercomputing, whether it is with the assistance of a supercomputing center or directly via private vendors through supercomputing in the cloud. SMEs are not aware that calculation power is basically close at hand, and that it offers flexibility, cost saving, time saving, better products, better quality products, and eventually openings to new markets. And again, this is something that we're currently working on, trying to raise awareness and the potential benefits of supercomputing to SMEs. One last barrier that needs to be addressed, and it specifically concerns supercomputing vendors and providers, is the scarcity of highly skilled personnel, because the more complex the technology becomes, the more difficult it is to replace aging supercomputing-oriented workforce. And this is some of the challenges that, for instance, US supercomputing providers are currently facing. They've got lots of difficulties trying to find new personnel to replace the ones moving away or retiring. So this concludes basically the part regarding the key barriers to supercomputing expansion. Now, in order to sum up what we've just addressed, here are basically the key takeaways that needs to be remembered regarding the current market trends about supercomputing. Just remember that the 2021 market reached a total of 34.8 billion USD in 2021, which was basically a growth of 9% compared to the previous year. Quick reminder that Europe in the landscape is planning for the acquisition of 2 exascale systems by 2023. Quick reminder as well that supercomputing in the cloud is rapidly growing and it is becoming essential, especially with the development of supercomputing as a service model. Remember that there is also an increased use of AI-powered and accelerated application in combination with several technologies. Healthcare, government and defense and manufacturing are expected to be the top application sectors by 2030. More specifically regarding healthcare, everything related to genomics and life sciences, as we just saw in the use cases presented. Remember as well that major benefits for SMEs when it comes to supercomputers lies primarily in time and cost savings. And remember as well that there are still barriers to the expansion of supercomputing as it is today. Thank you very much. I leave the floor to my colleague Ralph for the next few words.
Look who's back. So moving in back over here. Thank you for that very nice presentation. And I think there was also a premiere for you, if I got that right.
It was. I hope it didn't show too much.
Nicely done. So thanks a lot. I think there were a couple things in there which I can 100% confirm. So for example, all the barriers that we have seen over there is very, very consistent with what we have seen in the discussions with the other national competence centers. So there is around 30 of us in Europe over here, and we had a larger symposium and discussing about what keeps people from using supercomputing, and it's always the same thing apparently. So first of all, people don't really know what it is, so you have to explain that a little bit, which, well, we're doing in these webinars. Huh? Secondly, then people say, okay, fine, no, I understand what supercomputing is about, but actually, you know, I'm kind of lacking the idea. And I think that was nicely addressed over here with the use cases. So yes, supercomputing is not only for the big animals, but it's something that you can use even if you're an SME, even if you're in manufacturing, even if you're not in the public or in the defense area. It basically affects the current hype with and all the other generative AI models. And then the next barrier is usually, okay, fine, I understand what supercomputing is. I understand what I can do with it. I'm lacking the data. Yeah, where do I get the data from? Well, let me tell you, you don't have to get the data and generate it yourself. You know, by now there's also public sources, and meteorology is a nice example to do with public data. And don't forget, Luxembourg is building data pool over here that you might want to use for that one. And then last but not least, if you're lacking the people, if you're lacking the expertise, but if you have an idea, so apart from the market intelligence that we have within Luxinnovation, we also help people funding innovation, and we also do a little bit of guidance on such topics. So that having said, let's take a look. Are there any questions? So if you have anything, just drop it in the chat. Feel free to ask. If you don't have any questions, you might want to stay tuned for the next webinars. And as I said, as a reminder, bookmark May 4th, because that will be the big summit in person. And I'm sure we will have a lot more content over there. And in the meantime, well, we'll keep fueling the webinars with different topics. I don't know, anything else you would like to address over here?
No, again, if you've got any questions regarding the figures that were highlighted in the presentation, if you've got any interrogations, or if you think that there was some information missing, I would be more than happy to answer any of the questions regarding latest figures and trends regarding supercomputer.
Okay, perfect. So I don't see any questions. That either means everything was super crystal clear, or it means there has nobody been in this webinar. Well, we'll put it on YouTube anyway. And well, if you have also things that might pop up at a later stage, if you go on LinkedIn, or if you go on our website, feel free to either call Louis or to myself. By the way, there are two Ralphs working in Luxinnovation, so make sure you get the right one, because the other one is the cluster manager for wood. Okay, well, that having said, thanks again for watching. Thanks again for presenting, and see you at the next event then, probably.
Thank you for all the words in the chat as well.
See you. Bye-bye.